Welcome. I am Eric with Mother.com, and I greet you, beloveds, in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. So today we're going to be taking a look at the MACD, and I'm going to be using Bitcoin as a study example so we can see what we can learn from this chart. This is the 2-year weekly. Now, a quick heads up. I discussed the MACD in this series here, which is available to you. I'm going to have a link in the description of this video where I go into more details. There should be a couple of, in fact, a number of videos here that you can take a look if you have an interest in what I'm discussing here. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin's current weekly chart. So we can see for this week, today being a Monday, it is up about 9%. And going back to what I discussed in my videos about the MACD, remember, essentially above zero. And by the way, I need to stress this. In my own research, this zero line is a big key. Now, if you've been using the MACD, you should know that the zero line tends to determine whether generally a stock is on a down or a crypto, in this case, below zero. Above zero, generally speaking, that's the behavior. Remember also, when you use the MACD as support, as I've discussed many times, this tends to be a good re-entry area. And when you break down below zero, that tends to be pushing momentum downwards. Dropping below zero, we moved lower there. So there's a lot to study here as far as the MACD is concerned. And let me just add one other aspect of the MACD, which is trendline breaks. And I discussed that also in that playlist that's going to be available to you in the description of this video. So a break of that trend line there, momentum was downwards. And then recently we had another trend line break. And you can see the momentum was again downwards. So all of these things make up a complicated dance. But understanding and seeing some of these things can help you determine which way to lean in terms of the next meaningful direction. Now in this video I want to discuss the aspect of crossover. As I said, the zero line tends to determine, generally speaking, whether you're in a bullish trend or in a downward to sideways market. So you can see we use the MACD zero line. What I say here is whenever you have a crossover which is bearish, so a bearish crossover above zero, for example, a bearish crossover here, which is what I'm showing there, is not as powerful when you're above zero. Likewise, below zero, a bullish crossover, like a period here, is not as powerful when it is below zero. An example of this is if you take this period here, which is a crossover, take a look at prices. They were sideways and eventually recovered higher. In this example here, there's a early bullish crossover. So this example right there, oh, you can see it. At any rate, this crossover here is this period right there. You'll notice we actually drift lower. So that was not a good entry. So generally speaking, by my research, crossovers, if they are bearish, so again, let me draw that zero MACD line. A crossover, if you're looking for a sell signal, let's say, a crossover, a bearish one, when you're above zero, is not as powerful of a sell signal as you might think. And at the same time, a bullish crossover below zero is not as powerful as you might want. So how do you fix this? One way to fix this is check out what the MACD is doing. So here we have a crossover. We try to go down and make this low. Right? There's a crossover right here. And then we make this low and prices start moving higher, or the RSI starts pointing higher. Okay, so what you do is, this was a failed attempt. So you extend this line And the next time you break that trend line, it is gonna give you a more meaningful momentum trade signal. So this break right here, given the prior lows of the MACD, that in itself gave us this period right there. So momentum was good, direction was good. If we take this example here, it stalled right there. See that little stall, a little blip? It is the movement above where it had stalled, this movement here, that gives you a more of a momentum entry, which is this period, and we can see prices did go higher. Again, we can see something similar here. We have a bearish crossover. Take the lows, keep those lows in mind. The next time you break below those lows, that should give you more indication that now it is breaching these prior lows from September. And that tends to give you a more favorable. Now remember, all these things don't work out every time, but we are working with probabilities here. So this break here is probably, especially since it was close to zero, you add the effect of moving below zero. This is this period here, and you can see prices did drift lower, which brings us to the current market situation. Now, let me clear that stuff, and you can see that recently, or let's say in late December of 2021, there was this MACD high right here. So if we extend it, we can see that if Bitcoin can continue staying above the black line or above the highs of December 2021, one can also say that this is a more favorable MACD crossover. And one would expect prices to go higher in the weeks ahead, not day to day. But there's a requirement here that I cannot under stress. It is the fact that you'd want this movement to eventually move above MACD zero line. If it can't move above the MACD zero line, then any recovery attempt is going to be not as powerful and is going to be muted. So yes, we can see that right now based on this entry right there, based on the highs, and those highs were, as can be seen right there. So we are moving above that range. So what I'm saying here is it's a more favorable entry, and prices should be pointing higher. Yes, but for this to be truly a sustained bullish move, the MACD must reclaim the level above MACD zero. Because if what happens is if we end up being rejected around the zero line, then actually the next major trend from here in the coming weeks could be down if the zero line becomes the rejection area. Hope that makes sense. So in the weeks ahead, if it can't reclaim MACD zero and it rolls over, that becomes a more meaningful indication that prices have stalled, and the next meaningful direction more than likely is to the downside. Again, check out the links in the description for more information about how I use the MACD to determine where momentum is moving. Remember, you don't need to stress yourself that all these things have to work all the time. All you're doing is ever looking for where things seem to be lining. They don't always have to work out, but at least you can add this into your mix of thinking. And sometimes it actually gives you more indication where momentum is flowing towards. And so it is. I am Eric with Mother.com, and I leave you, beloveds, as I found you, in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one creator. Adonai.